our life. You guys can listen to some stuff. You guys can listen to this before we get started with the actual game.
Imagine you are the vice president of a billion-dollar children's television network.
Right, a massive corporate entity.
Exactly. You've got this incredible legacy built on decades of child psychology, millions of dollars in merchandising, and, the unbraidable trust of parents worldwide.
The absolute gold standard of kids' TV.
Yeah. And then you make a single, exceptionally lazy decision to save a few fucking bucks on a Thanksgiving commercial bumper.
Oh, man.
And that one decision results in $100 million lawsuit, you losing your entire network, and somehow ending up as a live-in maid for a global pop star so she can fund a quote-unquote fart museum.
Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive.
I mean, it sounds like a total fucking hallucination, honestly.
It really does.
But what we are analyzing today is the absolute terrifying reality of how quickly a legacy media empire can just completely unravel when corporate strategy meets executive desperation.
Yeah, it's wild.
Because beneath the incredibly colorful, innocent facade of preschool television, there lies this ruthless, cutthroat landscape that just defies all conventional logic.
Absolutely. So we are taking you on a journey today into a source text we've been analyzing titled Nick Jr., The Rise and Fall.
A very apt title.
Right? And our mission for you today is to unpack what starts as a genuinely fascinating business evolution of a pioneering preschool television block and track how it just completely spirals into one of the most absurd, surreal, and fiercely mature corporate takeovers in entertainment history.
Because the trajectory we're looking at fundamentally shatters the textbook expectation of how a company is supposed to grow.
Oh, totally.
Normally, you expect a clean graph. A channel launches, finds its demographic, grows its ad revenue, and then it stabilizes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the absolute batshit insanity of the collapse, we really have to understand the foundation.
Right, we have to go back.
Yeah, we need to go back to 1977, before the lawsuits, before the billionaires, before the corporate chaos. We're talking about the genesis of the preschool TV space.
So Nickelodeon's channel space began airing preschool-oriented programming that far back, leaning into a very specific strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Their first original series was a show called Pinwheel. And the strategy wasn't really built around the shows themselves, but the household demographics of the time.
The dreaded morning blocks.
Exactly. They carved out a block on weekday mornings, running specifically from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Which, if you think about it like physical real estate, is basically a ghost town in a shopping mall.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. You've got this massive sprawling commercial space, television network, but this one specific wing of the mall is completely dead from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Just tumbleweeds.
Yeah. From a business perspective, it seems like a colossal waste of resources to build a flagship store in that dead wing.
Well, the economics of that specific 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. window are fascinating to break down. You really have to put yourself in the boardroom of a 1970s and 1980s television executive.
Okay.
I'm there. Older kids are at school. Parents are at work. The only people sitting in front of the television during those 6 hours are literal toddlers. maybe accompanied by a stay-at-home parent.
Right. And toddlers do not have wallets.
Exactly. They have zero disposable income. So at the time, advertisers were utterly paralyzed by this demographic.
I mean, what do you even sell them?
You can't sell a 3-year-old car insurance or a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And the traditional toy commercials were highly optimized for the Saturday morning cartoon crowd.
The 7 to 12-year-olds who could actually articulate a Christmas list and beg their parents for shit.
Precisely. So because the advertisers are just shrugging their shoulders, the network just throws whatever cheap crap they can find in there to keep the lights on.
Just filler.
Yeah. On January 4th, 1988, Nickelodeon officially debuts a name for this specific block, Nick Jr., which they quickly shortened to just Nick Jr. by 1989.
By that launch, they weren't really making their own stuff, were they?
No, not really. The block was mostly just a dumping ground for imported series they purchased on the cheap from other companies.
And when a network coasts on acquired programming, like just buying cheap foreign imports to fill dead airtime, they run a massive existential risk.
Oh, absolutely. A network is supposed to have a voice, a cohesive identity.
Yeah, and if your voice is just a hodgepodge of disconnected random shows that you bought at a discount, you aren't building brand loyalty at all. You're just functioning as a cheap electronic babysitter.
Which is exactly what happened. They eventually made their first original series for the block, Eureka's Castle, which was a hit.
Eureka's Castle was great.
It was. But here's the crazy part. Even with that success, the former vice president of Nick Jr., Brown Johnson, admitted on the record that after Eureka ended, the block became a, quote, neglected day part. It just floundered. No money, no energy. The executives just let it rot.
And the term neglected day part is broadcast industry jargon for a chunk of the schedule that management has essentially just given up on monetizing effectively, right?
Exactly. They view it as a write-off.
Right.
But the inherent flaw in neglecting a day part is that you are still paying for the broadcast infrastructure.
Oh, true. The satellite uplink, the carriage fees to cable companies, those costs don't stop just because your programming is lazy.
Right. You can only neglect a property for so long before you either have to completely abandon it or you have to grow a pair and go all in.
And Nickelodeon, to their immense credit, finally woke up in 1994 and chose to go all in.
They really did.
And they did it by throwing $30 million at the problem.
Which is a massive deal.
Yeah.
September 5, 1994 really marks the beginning of the network's undeniable golden age. Nickelodeon poured $30 million into a massive, full-scale relaunch of the Nick Jr. block.
$30 million.
We need to contextualize that number. $30 million in 1994 was a staggering, almost offensive sum of money to spend on programming for humans who hadn't even learned how to read yet.
It's an insane gamble. I mean, they introduced Face, that animated, highly interactive host, to guide kids between shows, creating this seamless parasocial relationship.
Face was iconic.
Right. And they premiered massive new original hits like Gula Gula Island and Allegra's Window. And it worked.
It worked incredibly well.
They saw an immediate 50% ratings gain. They completely phased out those cheap foreign imports. But the most radical foundational shift they made, the thing that completely broke the brains of traditional television executives,
Was removing all commercial breaks during the show.
yes, removing commercials. What's fascinating here is the psychology of doing that during an era of unprecedented viewership growth.
It represents a masterclass in psychological corporate strategy. By stripping out the advertising, Nick Jr. engineered an impenetrable bond of trust with parents. They positioned the network not as a commercial enterprise trying to hawk cheap plastic garbage to toddlers, but as an educational safe haven.
But think about it from a business angle. It's like a casino taking out the slot machines.
Right.
You have a captive audience, your ratings just jumped 50%, and your immediate instinct is to say, hey, let's stop running advertisements. To any traditional Wall Street executive, that sounds like financial suicide. You're literally leaving millions of dollars on the table every single fucking morning.
But they weren't leaving money on the table. They were deferring it to a much more lucrative revenue stream.
Ah, right. The long game.
Exactly. If you are a parent in 1995 trying to get laundry done, you feel infinitely better leaving your child in front of a network that isn't aggressively bombarding them with hyperactive toy ads every 7 minutes.
For sure.
That peace of mind translates directly into massive brand equity.
It's the whole "we aren't selling to your kids, we're educating them" angle, and that equity paid off in ways nobody could have predicted, because this era birthed mega hits like Blue's Clues and Dora the Explorer.
Absolute juggernauts.
And let's be real, Blue's Clues and Dora didn't just win the 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. slot, they became the financial bedrock for the entire Viacom parent company.
Also,
You don't need traditional commercial breaks when you're moving billions of dollars in Dora backpacks, Blue's Clues notebooks, live touring shows, VHS tapes, and DVDs. The shows themselves became the product.
the merchandising tail really began to wag the broadcast dog.
Yeah.
The block was so incredibly successful, it burst out of its 6-hour constraint.
It had to.
It started bleeding into other networks. You had Nick Jr. on CBS running from 2000 to 2006, which eventually ended when they replaced it with a block called KOL Secret Slumber Party.
Right.
You also had Nick Jr. on Noggin from 1999 to 2009. The brand was simply too massive, too profitable to be contained to weekday mornings.
Because once a television block starts making billions in merchandising, it develops a ravenous appetite. It can't just be a morning block anymore.
No, it wants more.
It has to become a 24/7 behemoth. And to do that, it has to cannibalize its own family.
Which brings us to February 2009. Nickelodeon announced a brutal corporate restructuring. They were taking their sister educational network, Noggin, and completely replacing it with a dedicated 204/7 Nick Jr. channel.
R.I.P. Noggin.
Seriously. The new channel officially launched on September 28, 2009 at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. And with this launch came a massive, calculated corporate sanitization of the brand's history.
They took everything that made the 90s era warm and charming and essentially executed it in a boardroom.
Just completely sterilized it.
Yeah. They introduced a new logo designed by New York-based creative director Eric Zim. They completely dropped the iconic orange adult and blue child figures that had defined the brand for years. They just kept the color text. It's so sterile.
The visual identity shift reflects a mandate from the top down to create a sleek, modernized corporate unification across all 5 of Viacom's networks.
Corporate synergy bullshit.
Exactly. The adult and child figures were deemed too playful, too archaic for a modern media conglomerate.
And it didn't stop there. On March 1st, 2012, they brought in an agency called Gretel Inc. for another rebrand.
Right, the 2012 rebrand.
They brought in a new announcer, Jessica DeSico. They adopted a new slogan, "The Smart Place to Play." And this is the part that still pisses off anyone who grew up in that era. They completely dropped the beloved animated mascots, Moose and Z. They fired Moose and Z.
The elimination of those transitional mascots is a prime example of sacrificing nostalgic charm for cold brand standardization.
It's tragic.
Viacom wanted their entire portfolio of networks to look visually harmonious to advertisers and shareholders. A quirky animated moose just didn't fit the sleek, minimalist corporate design language of 2012.
So what does this all mean for the viewer? Because it wasn't just aesthetic changes. The corporatization hit the actual content. By October 2012, that beautiful, sacred 1994
Wait. Stop. Yeah. We did. Okay, let's Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Please leave your message.
It's why a show that originally aired precisely at 8 p.m. might suddenly start at 8:04 p.m. on TV Land. The viewer is getting less show and more ad.
Junior did the exact opposite. They inverted the strategy.
Precisely. They actually shortened some of their commercial breaks during these specific overnight hours.
Oh, wow.
By cutting the ad time down, the shows would end earlier than the standard half-hour mark, allowing the network to air more actual programming in the same 4-hour window.
Which is incredibly rare. You almost never see a corporate media conglomerate willingly cut back its ad time to give you more actual content.
Really true.
But when your late night comedy block crashes and burns that spectacularly, you have to throw the remaining audience a fucking bone.
However, fixing late night schedule was akin to rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Because while they were dealing with the localized fallout of NICMOM, the entire macro landscape of media was violently shifting underneath their feet.
The streaming wars.
Exactly. The failure of NICMOM forced the network to look toward the future of media consumption, which meant streaming. And this initiates the endless, chaotic, cyclical resurrection of its old ghost, Noggin.
Stick with us here, because the timeline of Noggin is like tracking the life cycle of an immortal, deeply confused corporate jellyfish.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the history of Noggin perfectly encapsulates the scrambling panic of modern legacy media trying to survive the streaming wars.
It's a mess.
Intellectual property is no longer a static asset. It has become this fluid, highly unstable commodity that executives just endlessly repurpose.
Let's track this absolute mess. Noggin launches as a physical TV channel in 1999. A decade later, in 2009, Viacom murders it.
Dead and buried.
It goes completely dormant when the Nick Jr. channel takes over its spot on the cable dial. Then, 6 years later, in 2015, they perform corporate necromancy. Noggin is reborn, not as a channel, but as a streaming app.
Suddenly, every media conglomerate on Earth realizes they desperately need a proprietary subscription service to compete with Netflix, so they dust off a recognizable brand name.
But wait, it gets so much weirder. From May 2021 to March 2022, the actual physical Nick Jr. TV channel decides to start airing a Friday Noggin hour block.
It's so convoluted.
Sometimes they called it Noggin Presents if it ran longer. They featured shows from the app like Kinderwood and Noggin Nose, complete with a little purple screen bug in the corner that explicitly said on Noggin.
Let's break down the sheer structural absurdity of that corporate strategy. You have Nick Jr., a network that assassinated the Noggin channel in 2009 to take its real estate.
Yep.
Then 12 years later, Nick Jr. starts airing a block of Noggin programming on its own network to promote the Noggin app.
It is a corporate shell game where the executives completely forgot which cup the ball is under. You killed the Noggin channel to boost Nick Jr., only to realize years later you desperately needed Noggin's brand loyalty back, so you started renting out space on Nick Jr. to the ghost of the channel you murdered.
It makes zero sense.
You are watching Noggin on Nick Jr., which used to be Noggin. It proves that nobody in these executive suites actually knows what they're doing. They are just endlessly recycling the same branding in a blind panic to see what sticks.
And ultimately, none of it stuck.
Shocking.
Because Paramount, the overarching parent company, eventually completely shut down the Noggin streaming service on July 2, 2024. They laid off the staff, migrated the video library over to Paramount Plus Lend, and in October of 2024, they took the ultimate step of defeat.
They sold it off.
They literally liquidated the IP and sold the Noggin brand to its former CEO, Kristen Kane. A multi-million-dollar corporate asset built over decades of broadcasting history just sold off to a private individual.
I'm just putting up
Meanwhile,
clothes.
the physical Nick Jr. channel is hemorrhaging viewers. The source notes that as of November 2023, the channel reaches about 54 million pay television households.
Which is a huge drop.
Yeah, which sounds like a massive number until you zoom out and look at the peak. In 2013, it was in 77 million homes. They lost over 20 million households in a single decade.
The modern technological landscape has completely fractured the audience. You have the standard Nick Jr. HD feed, which is broadcasting in 1080i resolution, natively 16.9 widescreen, but they are still heavily reliant on older archival content that was filmed in the 4.3 square ratio.
How does that actually look to the viewer? Because slapping old tech on new screens usually looks terrible.
It creates a stark visual dissonance. They have to use pillar boxing.
The black bars.
Yes, to fit a square 90 show onto a modern rectangular high-definition screen without stretching the image and distorting the characters, the network has to slap thick vertical bars, pillars, on the left and right sides of the screen.
It looks so cheap.
It immediately signals to the viewer, even a toddler, that they are watching something gated and technologically obsolete. Combine that degraded viewing experience with the fact that Pluto TV is offering free ad-supported archive feeds, and Paramount Plus is hoarding the premium new content, and you have an audience that is hopelessly fractured across a dozen different viewing portals.
And while the corporate executives were busy playing a billion-dollar game of musical chairs with these streaming apps and HD feeds, the actual content on the television network started to stagnate.
Really badly.
It became a monoculture. Which brings us to the era of Paw Patrol and the explosive, utterly unbelievable crisis of 2013.
The source text notes very bluntly and with significant frustration that the modern channel essentially devolved into, quote, garbage playing Paw Patrol all the time, with no room for other shows or even the classic ones.
Just dogs.
It became a solid wall of animated search and rescue dogs.
From a creative standpoint, it's exhausting. But why does a network do that? Why abandon variety entirely?
From a broadcast programming perspective, when a network relies that heavily on a single property, it implies a deep systemic internal panic. The executives are terrified to take creative risks.
Because it's expensive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Developing a new show costs millions in R&D, animation, and focus testing. When budgets shrink, they just carpet bomb the schedule with the one singular show they know will retain baseline viewership. It's a defensive posture.
But the true crisis of 2013 wasn't about dogs and police cars. Here's where it gets really interesting.
This is the turning point.
This is where the narrative shifts from a standard, slightly depressing corporate history into something that sounds like a dark, R-rated satirical comedy. In 2013, the channel runs a simple Thanksgiving commercial bumper. It's a short Where Family song designed to bridge the gap between shows.
Seems innocent enough.
Right. But global pop superstar Taylor Swift happens to be watching.
Yes.
And she notices that the instrumental track on this toddler bumper sounds identically, suspiciously similar to her massive hit song, Love Story.
Now, in the normal functioning corporate world, there's very strict protocol for this. If an artist's legal team reaches out about a potential copyright infringement issue, your legal department immediately steps in.
Standard procedure.
You issue a standard airtight denial of fault. You settle the dispute quietly out of court for a moderate sum. You sign an ironclad non-disclosure agreement, and the public never hears a single word about it.
But that is not what happened. According to our source, Taylor Swift's camp contacts the network, and the vice president of Nick Jr., Eric Casimiro, gets on the phone, and he actually completely verbally admits to the theft.
Unbelievable.
He replies with, and I quote directly from the source, "We were trying something new with our songs and saw how successful yours were, so our composers made instrumentals similar to Love Story, but not the exact song."
I have to pause here because as an analyst of corporate behavior and legal strategy, this is absolutely staggering.
It's insane.
This is a catastrophic, unforgivable legal error. You have the vice president of a major Viacom subsidiary openly, casually confessing to a global pop star that his composers intentionally ripped off her instrumental track to save money on a Thanksgiving bumper.
It is the dumbest fucking thing I have ever heard in my entire life. How does a billion-dollar media conglomerate allow its VP to just confess to premeditated copyright infringement on a phone call?
You don't.
You are talking to Taylor Swift. Her lawyers probably have lawyers. And you just casually say, yeah, we saw your song was making a shitload of money, so we told our guys to just copy it. That is next level, unfathomable corporate stupidity.
The legal implications of that single sentence are immediate and totally devastating. Because he didn't just admit that the song sounded similar, he admitted intent.
Ah, right, the intent is the killer.
He confessed that the copying was not a subconscious coincidence, but a deliberate top-down directive to capitalize on her specific financial success. In copy. Completely destroys any defense you might have had.
You're just handing them the loaded gun.
Furious about this blatant theft and the sheer staggering audacity of the admission, Swift sues the network. And she doesn't just sue for a slap on the wrist or a standard licensing fee. She demands a whopping $100 million.
$100 million over a 15-second toddler commercial. Imagine the sheer terror inside Viacom at that exact moment.
It must have been total chaos.
You are facing total corporate bankruptcy. You are looking at the complete liquidation of a historic, decades-old educational legacy network, all because your VP wanted to save a few bucks on a royalty-free acoustic guitar riff and then bragged about it to the artist whose pocket he was picking.
It's important to analyze the sheer panic that must have permeated that studio. The source explicitly states that Eric Casimiro was, quote, freaking out because if they lose, then the company will go bankrupt and lose everything.
Yeah, spelling errors and all, the stakes are real.
The spelling in our source text might be raw and unedited, but the absolute life or death stakes are crystal clear. He single-handedly put the entire company on the precipice of ruin.
Which forces him into the most frantic, misguided, batshit crazy fundraising scramble in the history of television. Facing total financial ruin, Casimiro was given a window. He had exactly 5 months to raise the $100 million to pay off Swift, avoid the lawsuit, and save the company.
5 months for $100 million.
And his strategy for raising this capital represents a total psychological breakdown of executive decision-making.
When humans are placed under that level of catastrophic stress, rational long-term planning evaporates. You just start throwing anything at the wall.
Theme parks.
Yes, he tries to open Nick Jr. theme parks. He starts organizing frantic meet and greets at local schools. He throws bizarre Nick Jr. country music parody events.
Yeah, none of those are high-yield, short-term investments. Theme parks take years of infrastructure planning, zoning laws, and construction. You can't just spin up a profitable theme park in 3 months to pay off a pop star.
Of course not.
But the most absolutely baffling decision he makes during this manic episode is his merchandising strategy. He decides to open a physical Nick Jr. store, but he doesn't open it in a high-end mall in Beverly Hills or a major metropolitan center like Times Square.
No, he doesn't.
So he opens a Nick Jr. store at River Bluff High School.
This specific detail is where we see the absolute collapse of his grip on reality.
Wait, why high schoolers? What is the broken logic there?
It's panic-induced tunnel vision. When you need $100 million in 5 months, you stop looking at your actual target demographic toddlers who have no money, and you look strictly for localized disposable income.
Oh my God.
He reasoned that this specific high school, quote, had the most money. Teenagers generally have part-time jobs and no mortgages. Casimiro hallucinated that generalized wealth in specific zip code would somehow magically translate into brand interest for a preschool network.
I'm just
Let me
here
get this straight.
stu-
You owe Taylor
people
Swift
money.
$100 million. Your job is on the line. The network is bleeding out, and your master plan to save the company is opening a pop-up shop for Bubble Guppy's lunchboxes inside a high school cafeteria.
That was the plan.
Teenagers want to buy vapes and video games, not Wonder Pets t-shirts. That is like trying to pay off a massive casino debt by opening a lemonade stand in the middle of the fucking desert. It defies all rational thought.
He was completely flailing. On the media production side, he tried to generate fast revenue by rushing out a bizarre crossover movie combining Blue's Clues and Dora the Explorer.
Did he really think that would make $100 million?
He even managed to get the country band Lady A to collaborate on a Dora Christmas soundtrack, presumably hoping the country music angle would somehow appeal to Swift's massive fan base and generate quick album sales.
But despite all of this frantic, manic output, the imaginary theme parks, the high school store, the Lady A crossover, how much money does he actually manage to raise in those 5 agonizing months? $50,000.
$50,000 against a $100 million debt. It is less than a rounding error. It wouldn't even cover the legal fees for the initial phone call.
So the absolute dread sets in. He starts violently slashing budgets. He has to fire staff left and right. The once mighty Nick Jr. animation and production studio is reduced to a terrified skeleton crew of just 150 people.
That's devastating.
Imagine the psychological toll on those remaining 150 employees. You are trapped in a failing studio watching your frantic boss set up folding tables at a local high school, knowing the ship is actively sinking beneath your feet.
And meanwhile, Taylor Swift is growing impatient. The 5-month deadline arrives, and he only had $50,000. But she decides to give him a brief 30-day extension.
And we have to talk about why.
We have to impartially and analytically dissect her stated motivation here, as provided in the source text, because it is staggering. She gives him 30 days because, by her logic, Viacom is a massive company and this shouldn't be a problem. And most crucially, she explicitly states she needs the $100 million right away to take her grandma to the Fart Museum.
The Fart Museum.
Yes.
Fuck,
We
that's
really
a
need to
fart
pause the
museum.
narrative and just sit with the absolute brain-melting
Why would
absurdity
Taylor
of this
Swift want to take
economic
your
dilemma.
grandma to the fart museum?
You have a billionaire pop star
I think
threatening
there's
to
a such
destroy
thing
an
as a fart
educational
museum.
television network, a network that literally pioneered commercial-free early childhood development, putting 150 innocent people out of work because she requires $100 million in liquid cash to take her grandmother to a museum dedicated entirely to flash.
It forces us to explore the absurd economics and power dynamics of eccentric billionaires. When you reach a certain stratospheric level of wealth and cultural influence, your motivations no longer need to be tethered to conventional reality.
Really?
Whether this fart museum is a real physical institution, a private eccentric art collection she wanted to
Is there
purchase,
something of a
or
fart
simply a
museum?
bizarre, fabricated fleck of supreme power designed specifically to humiliate a corporate executive who stole from her, the end result is exactly the same.
The ultimate power move.
The power dynamic is entirely, overwhelmingly in her favor. She commands the destruction of a company on a whim.
So Casimiro has exactly 30 days left. He scrambles. He scrapes every corner of the Viacom couch cushions. He liquidates whatever he can. And at the end of the 30 days, he comes back to her with, drum roll please, $1 million.
He falls $99 million short of the settlement.
And the ensuing financial default leads to the complete R-rated destruction of the network as they knew it. Because Casimiro failed to pay the debt, the company is utterly ruined. Or, as our source text explicitly and accurately states, the company, quote, gets fucked.
A very succinct way of putting it.
The financial default forces a total liquidation of the asset.
The network is violently ripped from Viacom's hands to cover the damages. And who steps in to buy the ashes of Nick Jr. at a discount? Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of the fiercely adult animated comedy, South Park.
It
It's
is
so
the
funny, I'm
ultimate
playing
cynical
South Park
evolution of
right
television
now.
broadcasting. Let's evaluate the extreme tonal whiplash of this acquisition. Parker and Stone institute a new, shocking broadcasting format.
A complete 180.
During the day, they revert to a classic Nick Jr. format, airing the beloved old shows for the toddlers. But at night, they replace that failed, sanitized Nick Mom block with something entirely different. They just broadcast old, uncensored episodes of South Park.
Replacing the gentle, exhausted humor of Instant Mom with South Park represents the ultimate desecration of the educational safe haven Nick Jr. built in 1994.
You go from Blue's Clues directly into Eric Cartman feeding a kid his own parents in a bowl of chili. It is so incredibly bleak, but also hilariously funny.
It's poetic in a twisted way.
You couldn't write a better, more visceral metaphor for the death of childhood innocence than South Park literally taking over the physical broadcast real estate of Dora the Explorer.
But the narrative doesn't end with the corporate buyout, because Taylor Swift's revenge against Eric Casimiro was apparently not satisfied by merely bankrupting his company and selling it to adult animators.
Oh no, it gets worse.
She takes the vendetta to a deeply personal, almost feudal level.
This is where it goes full Shakespearean tragedy, because Swift is apparently living in a massive mansion, but the power keeps going out. So, as part of her victory lap, she legally seizes Casimiro's personal house.
She takes his house.
She takes his home to turn it into a Swift shop to sell her merchandise, and
That's
decides
dark.
she is going to live there as well to avoid her power outages.
The sheer petty vindictiveness of this real estate takeover is astounding to analyze. She doesn't need his suburban house. She is a billionaire.
Right.
But seizing the private home of the man who wronged her, displacing him, and turning his living room into a retail store for her own brand is a psychological domination tactic straight out of a feudal monarchy.
And then the absolute cherry on top of this R-rated fever dream. Casimiro is now homeless. He lost his network. He lost his reputation. He still needs to make a living, so Taylor Swift hires him.
Yep.
She hires the former vice president of Nick Jr. to be her live-in maid at his own former house.
And she pays him an annual salary of $50 million.
$50 million to scrub toilets.
It is a brilliant, paradoxical salary. By paying him $50 million a year to be a maid, she's essentially trickling half of the money he originally owed her back to him, but doing it in a way that completely, utterly strips him of his dignity and his former corporate power.
It's sick.
The source notes that Casimiro is left deeply conflicted by this arrangement. He is happy about the incredible salary because anyone on earth would be thrilled to make $50 million cleaning a house, but he is deeply clinically depressed.
I mean, yeah. Look at the arc of his life. Let's summarize his emotional state. The guy who greenlit Peppa Pig, the guy who oversaw a $30 million golden age of educational television, is now dusting a merch shop for a pop star.
It's quite the fall from grace.
He lost his preschool empire to a country star who, and the source makes a very specific point to mention this, he personally believes is a fundamentally bad singer. He hates her music, he stole her song, he lost his empire,
Find Jesus.
You don't live to death of a kitty district?
What? Okay.
I don't even like donuts. That's where Jenny gave me that noogie you better keep off.
Okay, but I don't need to know about your stories.
Let me in. Ow. By the hammer of feathers. No, no, oh, no, no.
Son of a biscuit. Biscuit eaters.
Oh, boy, you won.
We won. We won. Sure did.
Oh,
Can we get the thing out? Walking around with the Christmas tree. Gotta find you again. You want to see a hat? Talk to the priest. Talk to the priest.
You're not the smell. Well, that is.
Find him one more time.
He's searching. A lot of these channels are just currently doing challenge runs. Okay, this player looks like they're fairly new. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, this guy's pretty low, so I think they might be worth rating. Alright, I'll give this guy a rate to end off the stream. So yeah, with that, thank you everyone for watching. And as always, if you enjoyed this stream and wish to see more of my content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe and click the notification bell to stay notified of future uploads. For those of you who are watching on Twitch and are going to be partaking in the raid,
Yeah. I think also whenever you guys suggest something, it gets what you call it, what's the word for it? It notifies you because I had over 120 suggestions that I cleared last night. From over
Ooh, where's Jesus? I don't know where he is.
and somebody thought it was funny to suggest this. You're about to see.
Hey, remember, I will always be at the side of those without. You can call me once per day with this.
Do it.
I can't help against bosses. They're scared. Come find me.
Summons are now available. You have now access to summon items of very powerful abilities that can vanquish all your foes in combat. I know. What was it other thing?
Well, what the heck? I'm gonna get battered anyway, might as well. I just was seeing it in the works.
Come on, now experience now. Of course you are.
That was so amazing. What you did for me, I won't
Guess what?
I wouldn't do that in front of the girl.
I don't
I
care.
wouldn't do that in front of the girl.
I'm going to.
I wouldn't do that in front of the
Listen
girl.
here, Missy.
I wouldn't do
You
that
can
in front
tell
of the
what
girl.
to do.
I
I'm
wouldn't do
fine.
that in front of the girl. I
Fine.
wouldn't do that in front of the girl.
Okay. Fine the cat.
Excuse you.
Try that.
You will never
We've been going on for an hour.
Excuse me, sir. Have you seen my hat? Report any suspicious activity to the police. You're pretty small for a grown man. Hey, new kid. Have you seen my hat? Report any suspicious activity to the police. That's what I do.
You would have said it if you're a fetus, yeah.
Okay.
Let's just keep it between us, okay? Because
No,
we're such
Lee.
good friends.
I'm waiting Millie from TV Museum is in this game. That was her. I don't know why. I don't know what are we even doing. Oh yeah.
This movie's really sweet. You guys can't see it.
Hey, over here. Sweet coffee. Coffee, man. We need some black.
Okay.
You should try some coffee. It gives you that edge you need to stay focused at school. Smells more with dark roast. It smells more with dark roast.
Some coffee might clear that up.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my God.
Hot coffee. I like iced coffee. Which coffee do you prefer? Can't teleport there.
There is a lot of walking.
I totally didn't see that coming. Wink, wink. It's okay.
Hamburgers.
Oh, hamburgers.
Hamburgers. I just.
Well, see, that works.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Ooh.
Why?
You don't have to cry about it. That's not me.
Say that for me.
Yeah, we got the
Heck no.
coffee. You got the.
It's a nipple.
Yo, Doc, can't I just go ride that home after the fight so I don't get grounded?
What you ringing? Are you gonna arrest me or what? waiting for the music to play. Yeah, I got all night, dude.
Are you going to arrest me or what? Ain't gone all day, pig. Are you going to arrest me or what? Ain't gone all day, pig. Are you going to arrest me or what? Ain't gone all day, pig. Are you going to arrest me or what? Ain't gone all day, pig. Are you going to arrest me or what? Ain't gone all day, pig. Are you going to arrest me or what? Ain't gone all day, pig. Are you going to arrest me or what?
I'm going to race me or what?
Sorry about this.
No, I can't.
Brutality.
No. You think we were too hard on her?
You can power on? God, we're back. I'm having a snack break. Jelly cream pies. All the best. You guys like jelly cream pies? Hope so. Shut up, Butters.
These Witch Doctors must be cooking up a secret potion.
Oh, wow, it's a healing potion. Shut up. We know how to play this game. We know. Going exploring in the meth lab. Should I go up here? No, that's I'd have to go back up here later, and this can be important. Yeah, I'll play them.
Give me some change, goddammit. Whatever you can stand. You got any change? Ooh. Hey! Just give me whatever you got on you. I'm good for it.
Not giving you my money.
Ow!
Oh, no. Did you throw a beer bottle at me, sir? Father, please give us the food. Father. Father, please give us the food. Please. How dare you throw a beer bottle at me? I'm Weston, the leader of the trio.
Oh, come on. Ah! Ooh. Ah! Ah! What are you? Ah!
I'll never hear this.
I will, but you're playing.
Ah! Ah!
I'm not going to use that right now. Bow second.
Hey!
Listen. Kids can drink beer now? I guess so.
Plus, Daddy.
Oh, sweet. Come off now. Stinking hair.
Oh, hey, you're a new kid. My sister, the princess, texted me about you. She thinks you're cute.
Ew, no. That's a boy.
Sorry to hear about the renters. Usually they're real fun and energetic.
Um, those were not renters. They were drug addicts. It was a meth lab.
You explain the mighty frog guy and I stand in awe of you.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
When you I get my perks. What do perks do? I forgot. Alright, guys, I'm about to end the stream and do another stream. Just play Tone.ui. Never. Alright.
I hope they're just sleeping.